If you're looking to move your Filipina to Europe and or also Germany, please stay tuned because I have a special guest today at the JP Network. And today I want to introduce Debbie and Sebastian from the Hubber vlog today.
We're fine. So
Yeah.
far. Welcome
So
from
far.
Germany. Yeah, so far. Yeah, of
Yeah.
course we are a family now, and we have a baby, so everything
Yeah.
is a bit different than we knew it before.
So how is it finally having a baby? Is it stressful or is it kind of new or how you guys think you're doing?
And
Yeah, it's completely new for us. Somehow it's a bit stressful, but it's fine.
Okay.
actually, I would more call it a blessing because, yeah, of course,
Hmm.
there were hard times before, and also there's hard times still now, and I'm sure there will be another struggles in the future. But he's really a blessing to us, and
Yeah.
we're happy to have him. Yeah,
Yeah.
So what is your child's name for everyone else who's watching today? What's his name?
yeah. We gave him two names. First name is Asriel, and
Israel.
second is Rafa. Yeah, it's two Hebrew names with a deep meaning, and yeah, we're happy about it.
It's a very unique name. I do think that's really cool.
Actually, we didn't get the Rapha name from an angel name. We got it from Jehovah Rapha.
Hmm.
So we took the
Mm,
Rapha. Yeah.
that's good. That's good. Yeah.
It has the meaning of helper.
Azrael, the meaning is God is my helper, and Rapha
Hmm.
is healer. So all in all, it's God is my helper and healer.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah, and that's great. I guess I want to talk from Debbie's perspective first. So
Mm-hmm.
Debbie, what was your first inclination of like moving from the Philippines, being a Filipina, moving over from the Philippines to moving over to like Europe and Germany and all that? What was like your first thought about all that? Were you scared? Were you anxious?
Yeah, of course. I was before when I was still in Philippines, I thought that it would be fine because I'm not totally alone because he's here. Because most of the time the problem of Filipinos is going to other countries, they're alone. But for me, I thought it would be fine because I would not be alone because I'm with him. But when I got here, it's really different because the lifestyle here, the culture, the language, everything is different. The food, especially, is different. So it's kind of hard for me to adjust. And also, he's working. Most of the time, I'm alone at home. So there's still a homesick.
Oh, okay, so there's still homesickness. I got you. I can see how that's being a little bit hard. Now adding a child can be a little bit, new with everything. And it's just a learning curve. You guys got to try to, get out of your head a little bit and try to just get out there together, spend time together as much as you can. And Debbie, if you especially can, you can try to especially see what you can to make new friends. New friends are
Mhm.
also moms, and especially new moms if you can. I know you're going through tummy time lately with your child now, and hopefully that's doing really well. But if you could do tummy time together with your child, that would with someone else's child, and while you connect with someone else who's also a mother, it can probably help you both out. I know you guys are especially churchgoers and stuff too, so if you guys can connect with other, especially like-minded individuals, somebody to mentor and lean off of, it's probably really good too. But that's just my personal advice. If you guys can, this is one thing that my mentors have kind of mentioned to me when my wife finally comes, and it's like, okay, because I'm kind of in the same boat as probably Sebastian. I'm like, it's just going to be a new situation, and then we're going to bring a kid into probably the situation. I know Joanna wants a child too, and this isn't just for our audience, this is also kind of for me too, like a personal thing. I don't think Europe is, it's probably a little different, but I don't think it's too different from America. It's closer to a first world country. Well, especially I know Debbie probably would viewing things differently about how Europeans drive now compared to Filipinos drive. I
Yeah.
think, and we can cover that a little bit. But I want to talk from Sebastian's perspective now. Your thought when she finally first, even, I guess before she even came.
I will start from the background. I mean, the way how we met, it was already a bit different than other stories because I were in Philippines for 1 year, and there I were a missionary, and I were in different places, also different churches, and we did children ministry. And for that, I needed at her place a translator, and there I met Debbie. But I didn't. I only saw her for 1 week, or 2 weeks maximum. After, it was the whole time long distance relationship.
Mm.
So COVID started. I wanted to see her again.
Hold
So
on.
it was a long distance relationship. So um,
Yeah.
just what I want to say is, out of that perspective, the struggle was, or I thought it would be easier. It would be easier, and we know each other already so well because we were talking very well in live stream and as I in phone calls, video calls. But when she were here, it was totally different. It was like learning to know each other completely. It was completely different, and we found out living together is has other struggles than just video call.
I guess for the sake of our audience, what led you to do a missionary trip to the Philippines?
I didn't grow up in a Christian family, and I mean, my mother read to me Bible stories when I was a child, but it was not really a Christian background. And when I really gave my life to Jesus, that was 2 months before I got 16, so still 15 years old. Friend of mine, and I think it's my oldest friend. He brought me. He said, "Let's go to a Christian camp." It was his church, and I said, yes, I go there, and in the last service of that church camp, I gave my life to Jesus. So,
Amen.
and what I want to say, what led me there to the Philippines was I believe that God can talk to you. I believe that He can speak to you, and I believe that He can also speak to you supernatural. In my church, there's a pastor. We had 6 pastors. I'm not in that church anymore because I moved to another place. We had 6 pastors, and there's a couple pastor couple, and they in the Philippines they founded an orphanage, and they always had flyers for a Bible school there, and I took the flyers 6 times with me, and over a time of 2 years, and I always thought, no, I will not go there. Asia is it's so Philippines, it's so far. I was also a bit afraid because of different situations that happened in front, and so I didn't want to go. But after 2 years, I took the 7th flyer of that missionary school, and I took it with me at home. And in that moment, it was like God was talking to me, Sebastian. Now it's time to go there. So that was my experience. Why I at least went to the Philippines. And after that, all the sorrows, all the doubts, they were gone, and I said, okay, I will go there. Then also my car broken. The insurance gave me the money for the car back, so I even got more money than the worth of the car was in that moment. With that money, I were able to pay the whole year I was spending in Philippines. So it was more like a supernatural coincidence who came together, that I had enough money, that I had.
It was not a
Yeah.
coincidence. I don't think so. But that's a great story. You can keep going. I was just kind of mentioning it wasn't coincidence. It was God really prompting, knocking at your
Yeah.
heart. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in circumstances. I believe in serendipity. Serendipity means you put effort into something and people see your effort. And God sees it too. God uses that serendipity that you put effort into and puts that into the other people's lives for them to see what God can do for you also. A lot of people do serendipity as still luck, but if you look at the actual root word of serendipity, I don't believe in luck, because I believe God puts us in a place because God's not too far from us anyway. And if you actually look at the book of Acts 17, 26 and 27 and 28, God puts us in particular places for a reason. And as long as we follow God's will in that, we'll see God working in our lives, especially what you mentioned about your car. And that's what God wants in your life, Sebastian. And I think that's what he really did for you. It just took you 7 times. So, I didn't grow up Christian really either. Early on in my life, my mom would take me to church and stuff like that, but she wouldn't read me any stories. I didn't grow up from a Christian household from my perspective. I gave my life to Christ in October 22nd of 2017. So actually 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. 5 years later, I met my wife. I married her the exact day I got saved, October
Oh,
22nd of
ah,
2022.
okay. So
Yeah,
that's the
27.
story.
Yeah, it's a cool story. That's how I know how God's really, really faithful. And he really put that in my heart. So 5 years later, after I got saved, I wound up marrying my wife. I didn't even plan that. It was just, it's interesting. But yeah, and me and my wife figured that out. But it was really cool. So you done all these missionary things. And how long were you in the Philippines up until then before I guess you finally came by Debbie's church and all that when you finally met her? Because when you met her, this is different than the majority of people how they find a Filipina. Most of them find them online. Some of them find them in person, which you did find her in person, but this is kind of a little different. You found her through a missionary in person.
Yeah, I think I were there in Philippines for 7, 8 months. And then later on, when I wanted to visit her again, then COVID happened.
Oh
Because of
yeah.
that, we didn't saw each other anymore. Before I went back to Germany, it's more like I still have a reminder. I bought a boat ticket from Cebu. I was my missionary school was in Cebu city, and there bought a boat ticket to drive to her island again. 2 days before I were able to drive, all the harbor and all the airport were closed.
Yeah. They
Mm.
declared lockdown.
Yeah, so
In the Philippines?
in the
Yes.
Philippines
Yeah.
because of COVID. I were not able anymore to go there. I were not able to see her. But
Again.
yeah, again, the crazy
Oh
thing
no.
was really it was only 2 days to go.
Yeah, because the plan was he will go back to CDO to ask permission to my mommy, to our pastors, to my parents,
Mm.
if he can court me. So, but yeah, things happen.
I guess you met her and you went through like the highlight of COVID with her. I eventually went like near the end of it, so like near the end of like where COVID restrictions were still around, but they were kind of coming back. The majority of everyone else around the world were kind of letting people in, and the one mayor, I guess, of Cebu was letting them in. When I went, was letting them in without COVID test. I think her name was Gwen. So I went there in that time where President Duterte was kind of not letting them in, but Gwen was fighting against it, and that was kind of when I went. So I kind of went where COVID restrictions were a little bit more laxed. As long as I got a COVID shot, me and my son, I was able to not get quarantined, which was really good. So that really helped me out a lot. You guys met then. When did you guys get married, and how did you guys plan out your wedding and everything? I didn't get to meet you, Sebastian, but I did get to meet Debbie very very short moment. So like once when I think in the church, right? We met in church, right? And that was it.
Yes.
But you were on your way leaving, planning your way up to Germany at that particular time, and we were just starting our journey. How did you guys plan all your wedding leading up to that point?
We planned the wedding while COVID,
Hmm.
so
2021.
2021, and I tried to get in two
Two
times
times in
before
Philippines.
we married. So, but it didn't work because one time the German government didn't want to let me go. The next time the Filipino
Don't let
government
you in.
didn't want to let me in. So it was it was a bit crazy, and I lost also money. So our only chance was to see each other again, to marry, because also I called the Filipino embassy and I asked, can I go to Philippines? And the Filipino embassy said, are you married with with this woman? I said, no. If you would let me in, I would marry, then we would be married, but right now it's not possible. How can we marry if we can't see each other? So we decided in 2021, so 1 year after COVID started, that we will marry. And so we saved up money, and of course the whole preparation were online. Debbie went to the wedding planner, and we did a video call, and she search for the location, and we decide together what we will do. Of course, everything was online.
It's more like 2021 at the beginning. At the first time you tried to go in the Philippines, he was not able to get in. So we said that okay, you try again on December 2021 so that he can also ask my parents and if it's fine that we get married, more like an
Right.
engagement, something like that. But it still didn't work out. So around April 2022, we just decided to have a virtual engagement. So
Mm,
it's more like him and his mother online and my whole family. We gathered them so that we can do the engagement. Not normal way, but still because in Philippines somehow it's a tradition to gather the family and ask for the permission if it's fine, something like that.
yeah.
So, yeah, so we did it virtually because when he tried last December 2022, it still didn't work. The Philippines got more strict because the restriction every month are changing.
I actually followed Jennifer Terry on YouTube because they just kept changing all the different restrictions, and then they were also using different QR codes. Jennifer Terry was kind of helping me through figuring out how all that worked. So, but it was kind of hectic even when I went. But I'm sure it was even more hectic when you went, Sebastian, because you were going through like the whole highlight of it all, and on top of that, I did notice that your mother was there with you.
That
Mhm.
was even more crazy because
Yeah.
I'm a person. I don't know where I got that. I'm sure I didn't got it from my mother, and I am sure I didn't got it from my father. I can really adjust easily to other cultures. Here at home, we're eating rice. It's for me not a problem. We eat normally Filipino food. Actually, you also
Can
want to
I
say
exit short? Is it fine if I go short?
Yeah. Yeah, you can deal with him. It's fine.
Thank you.
It's
you
fine.
have
I can
to
just talk to
you
him.
have to take
Yeah.
care that I don't marry Tessa.
Yeah, you go.
I'm really open to other cultures, and it's easy for me, even when we're alone in the Philippines, but very easy for me to adjust to the Filipino culture, and I didn't miss so much Germany and German food and this that. It was really easy for me. But when my mother came with me and my sister and her boyfriend, they're all really really Germans. German means like punctual. The when you plan something, it has to be like that. For them, it were really hard. That was the first time I really saw how difficult it can be for a European to be in Philippines because everything is different. The people sometimes they don't take so serious with the time, and also our wedding planner one time she said come check the dress and check the suit and everything that she prepared for us. And then my family the morning they spent it without doing anything, and they were only 2 weeks there, so of course they wanted to spend the time. They wanted to do every day something that for them it was a bit crazy to do a one day nothing, half of a day nothing, and then we wanted to go to the wedding planner. Then the wedding planner said, "No, all my three children are sick, so you can't come." So for them, it was more like, "Oh my goodness, we lost the whole day." And for them, with their German or European mindset, it was really the worst of everything. They spent it half of the day doing nothing, and then the other half of the day was also for spending. They didn't have a chance to do anything else, so they lost the whole day. For them, it was really the worst
It
of
was
the of the stay in the Philippines because of their German mindset. For me, it was not a problem because, of course, I'm used to it and I am easy to adjust. But when my family were there, I really found out it's not so easy for a European or maybe also for American to adjust to the totally different Filipino culture because
yeah.
Philippine and German or Philippine and European cultures, it's way far from each other.
I know when I went to the Philippines, I wouldn't say a culture shock because I was kind of expecting what I kind of knew what I was going to face there.
Mhm.
But the first thing I noticed, the moment I got off the plane, the moment I landed in CDO, Cagayan de Oro in Lagunian Airport,
Mhm.
the first one of the first things that came out of my mouth was, what did you do to your power lines? They call it spaghetti power lines. And for anyone who doesn't know what that looks like, go look it up on Google. Spaghetti power lines. It's a mess. And it's because I was so used to how our power lines are all nice and straight and good and everything like that. And when I talked to a friend of mine here in America who does electrical work, and he says we have regulations in America, and you probably do in Europe or even in Germany. The one thing I realized is we have the regulations. They have to put up brand new lines whenever that happens. The Philippines doesn't have that regulations currently. Hopefully they get regulations. I don't think Filipinos think everything through. Like they kind of plan things day by day. I think that's kind of what a lot of people in the Philippines do versus us in America. We think things ahead. And probably Europeans do because we kind of have a European mindset. And granted, some Filipinos are, that's why they built that brand new bridge in Cebu and all that. But, so they are working about how to develop things in communal ways, but only selective few Filipinos are doing that. So when you mentioned your family, and I guess they're dealing with this culture shock.
They really had a cultural shock.
Mhm.
Also, for them, it was really crazy. Like, of course, they used the whole time taxi, and at the end, they said, "Why is everything so expensive? You told us that it's so cheap in Philippines." I was like, "Yeah, if you live a Filipino way, then it's cheap with the finances that you bring from Europe." But for them, it was even hard to drive public transportation like jeepney. How you explain to a person how to drive jeepney if only Europeans are there? So if a Filipino is with them, it's easy to teach them how to drive like public transportation, but it's totally different. I know that in America it's same like in Europe. We have bus stops. In Philippines, you don't have bus stops. It's more
No, you
like
have,
you
yeah, you
knock with the
knock it,
coin
yeah,
at the rail or something like that, and
on the
so
jeepney and all that to tell it to stop. Yeah.
yeah, and it was so hard for them to even drive with public transportation, because also how will you know where you have to get out if there's no bus stop with the name like library or something like that? So how will they know that they are not at the library or something like that?
That was the one thing I noticed. They don't have street signs.
Yeah.
When I drove there, because I was there for a month with my wife and everything, and and we're trying to find the wedding organizer ourselves, the wedding
Mhm.
coordinator. We're driving around in circles just trying to figure out what this street is. Now we can't trust Google Maps as easy because it doesn't seem to work really well. It might work better up north, maybe like Manila and Luzon and Cebu area, but
Mhm.
Mindanao's not really well developed. When we went to this one beach pool area down in Mindanao, this is like my first time ever noticing this. Where it told us to go, we wound up going like 2 miles, like maybe 4 kilometers further than where it really was at.
Mhm.
So that was kind of really difficult.
In Cebu, I figured out that Google is really working. Even Google is showing you which jeepney you can drive. That was a bit strange in my eyes because I don't see jeepney as a really like a bus with bus stops. But there it were working in Mindanao. I think they don't have it. Yeah, it's not in Google.
I don't know if Europe has like Greyhound buses or something like that. Where like, what kind of buses do you use to travel from city to city in
Honestly.
Europe? Do you have like big commercial buses to travel from like one side of the country to another side of the country or city to city?
Yeah, most of the time we use trains to
Yeah, I
really
figured you did. Yeah.
to travel long distances.
Okay.
Like from here, we are in the middle of Germany to Berlin, the capital. It's like 600 kilometers. Most of the time, you use either airplane
Fast train.
or yeah, fast train. There are also buses, but they're really slow. They don't have so many stops. They really stop only once in a city, but they are like you drive there for that 600 kilometers, maybe 18 hours, 20 hours. So it's really slow.
Oh, okay.
So most of the time, I also have a friend. He's living now in Berlin, but he visit his family in the really south of Germany. Then 800 kilometers from there to Berlin, and he really fly every time because it's just 1.5 hours flight. Of course, you have to be a bit earlier at the airport, but it's more convenient.
I guess, Sebastian, when you were in the Philippines, you noticed, I guess, there was way more transportation in the Philippines than probably you're used to even in Europe, because you probably use your car more in Europe than using public transportation in the Philippines.
And most of the time, I were living in Cebu City, so there it was normal to use just jeepney, so public transportation, and I really got used to public transportation in Philippines really fast. We also rented for the wedding and stuff like that for some preparations. We also rented the car there, but I think in general I prefer always car because then you are really at the place where you want to be. So it's not like you with us here in Germany, you have a bus stop, you go there, and then maybe you still have to
Walk
walk
a bit.
500 meters, a kilometer, or something like that to be somewhere. But with the car, you're always right at the point where you want to be. You are in front of the house where you want to be. So I always prefer car. Also, when we were living in Mainz before, and in the city, really immediately in the city, then also public transportation worked. But in Philippines, like in Mindanao, public transportation is not really working. Yeah, you have tricycle, you have jeepney, you have different kind of transportation, but to be there where you want to be,
Takes some time.
it takes time.
Yeah.
I know my wife, she doesn't have a car, so she has to take public transportation all the way up to church and back. It takes her a whole day to get there. It takes
Yeah.
a whole day and a whole night for her to get from church to home. She stays the night at home, and then she has to go, and you already know that she has to go all the way back to the farm. Still an all-day trip for her. I'm sure Debbie had to face similar problems. Debbie, from your perspective, what do you think of Germany now, looking at like a working society of cars and transportation in Germany versus the Philippines?
I think here in Germany, I can really say that everything is really organized. Like when you take a bus, there's an app where you can see what time the bus will arrive in that station, something like that. So you're aware of the time. You don't have to wait outside, freeze outside waiting for the bus for so long. Unlike in Philippines, yeah, you will stay on this on the highway waiting when will the jeepney come, or if there's a jeepney that will pass, maybe it's full or something like that, so you have to wait another
You have to climb
bus
on
or
the back.
yeah, or
Mhm.
with a bus you have to run after the bus because somehow when you stop the bus it will stop a bit distant, so you have to run after the bus. But here there's really always a station where they will stop in every street, then you don't need to use a coin to to yeah.
I hope you didn't use a coin on the bus here in Germany.
No, because the
Just
first
hope you
time
didn't.
I was with him, and I was really have no idea how it works. But then he said that yeah, there's a button I need to press so that it will stop. So I really told him that it's really completely different in Philippines. That's why it also take me some time to adjust and to learn how to commute, because when I arrived here, I always travel with him, ride in the bus, train, and there's an app. With an app, it took me a bit. It took me a while to learn how to use the app, where you can see that the next bus you have to ride is this number or the train, and I had to learn that to use that app. But then after 1 week that I arrived here in Germany, he got sick, so he has to stay in the hospital. So I had no choice but to learn how to commute on my own. So it's more like he wrote that, oh, you have to take this bus, this number, don't take another bus because otherwise you will
Get
Mm.
lost.
get lost. So
Yeah,
in
yeah.
that period of time, he stayed for like 3 days at the hospital.
Yes.
Yeah, and for me, I was not yet ready to commute on my own, but I didn't have a choice because I had to visit him at the hospital. I have to bring clothes, I have to bring food for him, so I was forced to commute on my own. It's really
Yeah.
um so much to adjust because it's completely different in Philippines.
I actually even remember Sebastian, like there's something you had an accident at work, I guess with your hand or your arm
Yeah,
at one point.
that's
Yeah,
exactly
that
That's
the
the
thing.
reason why he went to hospital.
Yeah,
He got an
yeah,
operation because of that.
that was probably even more difficult because I think you just arrived or you were like right
Yes.
after you arrived and you
Mhm.
were having an issue at that particular time. You can see my dog behind me. So yeah, I can understand that's probably even more difficult to face when you have those kinds of circumstances and issues, and especially adjusting to this new culture, especially trying to do it on your own, you said.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
it is really hard because also with buying tickets, you need to use like sometimes when you will buy a ticket in the bus, they need a card. But if you will
Mm,
just buy a ticket in the station, then cash would be fine. And
mm,
in Philippines, you will just pay when you have to get out of the jeepney or bus or something like that. But here, you need to buy a ticket, and with the machine, it's German what's
mm,
written there, and that time I really don't know how to, even now I don't know, I don't understand German, I don't speak German, so it was
yeah.
really hard for me to use the public transportation without him.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give me a like and subscribe below. I plan on splitting this interview into a 3-part video series, so if you see part 2, it'll be right here, and I'll catch you next time.